Defense and Foreign Relations.
Committee of Administration and Internal Security. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
I'm told actually it's the Chair of Administration and Internal Security. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to welcome Honorable Kirwa back to the House, and we thank God for restoring his health, and we hope you will be back on your feet. Madam Speaker, let me thank the President for this very important address he made to the nation from the floor of this House. It is important for us to say the truth as it is. You know, Madam Speaker, leaders rise and they make their countries rise at the right time. We had Kennedy in America who said, by the end of the decade, a man must be on the moon. Then we had Mao Zedong, who removed his country, China, from a peasant economy to a thriving economy. We had Lee Kuan from Singapore, a man who raised his country from a very rudimentary country in terms of the economy to today a first world country. Madam Speaker, Clinton, when he became the president in 1990s, he said the economy is stupid, and he transformed the American economy. So when we try to compare ourselves, borrowing from what Honorable Dindi Nyoro said, of comparing ourselves to the growth of the Ugandan economy or the other East African economy, our economies are much bigger, and the growth has to be relative to what is the size. And that is why our economy cannot grow at 7, 8, 9, 10%, if really it can grow at 5% and it still meets its strategic objective. Madam Speaker, let me talk about a few things the President talked about. The first one is about national security. Today, as Kenyans, we must appreciate this government that today that the guns are silent in the arid and semi-arid lands. Of the 6 counties of North Rift, you will find that there is no fighting. In Turkana, in West Pokot, in Baringo, in Marakwet, in Samburu, in Isiolo, in Marsabit. This shows the security investment by this government by improving the governance architecture of having DCCs, ACCs, by having more police stations, having more boots on the ground. Madam Speaker, this government is on record that today we are recruiting 10,000 policemen. That has not happened before in the previous administration. It is good to say when it works and when it is positive. We cannot always be prophets of doom. Madam Speaker, on agriculture and food security, at the beginning of his leadership, the President said, we are not going to subsidize consumption, we are going to subsidize production. Today, when you go to supermarket and you find that food is relatively more affordable than at the beginning in 2022, then it means the agriculture sector is working. Furthermore, when the President says that he's going to build dams in arid and semi-arid land, in Wajir, in Mandera, in Marsabit, in Garissa, in Tana River, because 80% of Kenya is arid and semi-arid land. These are the places where we are likely to have more land and expand land for agriculture. Madam Speaker, on the issue of infrastructure, you know, the reason why infrastructure is more important is for predictability in terms of traveling. Today, if I leave Marsabit at 8 in the morning, I know by 4 I'll be in Nairobi. That is how infrastructure is so important. Today we talk about the airport in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. Then here we are saying we don't want to expand our airport at Jomo Kenyatta just because of busybodies saying the government is going to lose jobs and many other things. But what we are saying with this president, that he must be courageous enough to take the bull by the horns. By expanding Jomo Kenyatta Airport, we are the hub of this region. How comes that we are losing business to other countries in the region, much smaller than us? Madam Speaker, what is so important in infrastructure is to have national infrastructure bond. As opposed to expanding the tax bracket, more taxation to Kenyans. If we have a fund that is going to be self-regenerating, then it means we'll be able to construct as many roads as we can without resorting to Kenyans dipping more into their pockets. Madam Speaker, what this country needs is a change in the strategic culture. We must begin to have confidence in our leadership. If they are bold, if they give direction, if our leaders are able to make deliberate choices that is of benefit to the country, then we must support those leaders. Madam Speaker, the issue of investment in the human capital. We have the TVET, the Nyota program, and many other programs that is supposed to help the youth to be on their feet and eventually to be able to walk. For these programs to be successful, then it means Kenya must generate enough resources for this particular task. Madam Speaker, the other important issue which I must talk about is the issue of energy. You know, energy is the anchor for industrialization, is the anchor for development. Honorable Kainan there talked about the issue of Wajir, but Wajir is not the only towns in northern Kenya that are dependent fully on generators. If we must develop the north, then we must begin to focus on energy. And what the president should actually do is even to look at the possibility of nuclear power so that Kenya must industrialize without necessarily depending on its neighbors who are also able to sell power from their hydroelectric dams to us. Madam Speaker, I want to finish, and I want to say again about national security. If we walk around this country today, and what we experienced a few years ago, Kenya is relatively more safe. And this is the investment that this government has done on the security infrastructure and also the architecture. In terms of employing people like the Kenya Police Reserve, complementary forces that augment the forces that are there, because we do not have enough police officers or enough police stations to cover those gaps. As people from the ASAL or the pastoralists, we want to encourage more of the locals to be employed in KPR. There are also issues like mobility, force protection for our National Police Service and our security forces to be able to engage in difficult situations without being in harm's way. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support this report. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Ngusia.